Is that you, Casey, or is that your wife who's joining us from far away?
I'm here.
Is that Amy?
It is.
Your phone comes up as Casey, so I wasn't like leaning onto him for that. It just was what the caller ID said. So are you like traveling across the pond?
No, I am standing in Kansas City.
Sweet. Well, I just saw a Portugal picture maybe or something like that. So we'll get started in just a
Yeah,
minute,
I was
Amy.
there. Okay,
Glad you're
sounds good.
here and glad we clarified that before we start recording. But yeah, your caller ID misgenders you. As soon as Miss Brawley gets back, we'll get started.
Okay. Okay.
All right, we'll go ahead and call to order this work session of the Anchorage Assembly. Today is September 5th, 2025. We're here to have a briefing on the Office of Equity and Inclusion Interim Annual Report for 2025. There's a number of items that are underneath that, and we'll first start with introductions. Ms. Silvers.
Yaro Silvers, Anna Brawley.
Christopher Constant, we have with us from the Office of Equity and Inclusion.
Kim Waller.
And Lupe Chavez.
So you have to speak into the mic
Thank you.
with the green light on. Press the button, the green light goes on, let it go.
Lupe Chavez.
And then you press it again to turn it off. So then you don't have a hot mic moment. So, and on the phone, we have our friend Amy Kaufman.
Present.
Hello. There was an echo of a warm kind of sounds when I said your name, just so you know, Amy. So, okay, we're going to start with the presentation by Ms. Waller. Ms. Waller, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair Constant, and thanks to those of you who are here and joining us today. My name is Kim Waller. I serve as the Chief Equity Officer in the Office of Equity and Inclusion, and next to me I have Lupe Chavez, who is our Junior Admin in the Office of Equity and Inclusion. And this is our interim annual report. And so this is meant to kind of serve as an overview of the annual report for the Office of Equity and Inclusion. That will be provided to you at the top of the year. But we wanted to take this opportunity to share a little bit more about our work and where we're at in this office. And of course, always welcome your feedback and any additional questions you may have. I've held the role of Chief Equity Officer for just under a year. And really, before I get started here with these slides, just to share, there have been some changes made to the office. So we were formerly named the Office of Equity and Justice. But one of the things that I prioritized when taking the role is meeting with as many of the directors as possible to get an idea of their perceived, function of the office and listening as to, where they felt that we could and should best serve. And so one of the things that we quickly identified was that the name Justice was misleading. I think that in the context of our office, that justice may have a legal connotation, and we are not lawyers, nor do we practice law in that office. And so it was changed to the Office of Equity and Inclusion to help better define, I think, the vision for who we should be and who we wanted to be. And so, I feel that this office is very much the people's office, and it should be a collective and shared vision and uphold the vision of the municipality to consider equity and inclusion at the heart of the many decisions that we make. And so those meetings resulted in a name change to the Office of Equity and Inclusion. And so I'm going to click here to the next. Hopefully all goes okay, there it goes. All right. So the OEI, a little bit about us. The OEI was formed to assure municipal services are accessible, to uplift the voices and residents and encourage public participation. So the Chief Equity Officer, that be myself, represents the municipality on community issues in a variety of forums and ensure that we remain federally compliant with language access and EEO policies. I also serve as the EEO officer, which I'll share more about. In addition, the OEI collaborates with human resources to recruit, compensate, retain, and promote the best talent to ensure the municipality is a fair and rewarding place to work. And so 4 of the primary goals and objectives of our office are first being language access. And I really owe that to the Anchorage Equity Committee for helping us to better identify and understand exactly what that meant and the importance of having a robust and functioning language access program. Of course, it is a federal requirement that we do so. Also, again, EEO, that's a federal requirement that we are an equal employment opportunity employer. Also under the purview of our office is the Native Village of Eklutna Educational Opportunity. It's called a training, but we've renamed it an educational opportunity because we see it as just that. And lastly, MuniWorks AK, which I will share with you a little bit more. That is our means and methods of doing our outreach and making sure that we are connected with residents and distilling all the information around government and the government process that we possibly can. And so here you see a couple of shots from our language access training, and that took place fairly recently, but we had the pleasure of making sure that we connected with not only directors, but employees around the municipality to assure that they understood language access and that they understood how to utilize the technology. I'm actually going to ask the holder of the language access program, that being our junior admin, Lupe Chavez, to speak a little bit about what her experience has been like with the program.
Thank you. So like Kim said, I am one of the administrative officer for the department, but early on when I was first hired, I took the lead on the language access program for the municipality. Because of my experience and knowledge with municipal government, I was able to quickly connect with the different departments and CLE employees and Language Link, who is our principal language provider for interpreting and translation services. I was able to get important information from Language Link, and we began the process of reviewing the different department accounts, which had not been updated since, I believe, 2018. And I began updating the information with the names of the new department language representatives. In the process, we discovered that there were some departments that did not have accounts with Language Link. So I worked with the departments and Language Link to open new accounts for the departments. We reopened accounts that had been made inactive. And because of the work that we have done in the past 5 months, I am happy to report that all Language Link Muni accounts that have been cleaned up and all outward-facing departments have a designated language access representative. I have also worked with Language Link to request that our fire department and police departments have 911 priority. So when an employee calls and requesting a language interpreter, they are given a priority for that service. The other thing that I've also worked on is updating the Muni Language Access Policies and Procedures -16-6 and the addendum that comes with that, which updates with all the updated information and instructions for employees on how to provide language interpreting and translation services to the public, either telephonically, in person, or using the VRI platform. And we've also been updating the website with all the new training videos and other resources that Amy was able to help us update, and just on a daily basis, just working with our departments to make sure that they have the resources they need so we can provide services to the public. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lupe. And before I ask for Amy Kaufman to share a little bit about some recommendations that she has made, which are going to be on page 7, section 3 in the Municipality of Anchorage Language Access Program update handout that we've provided, I just wanted to again share that language access is a federal requirement, and it's the policy of the Municipality of Anchorage to provide timely and meaningful access to limited English proficient and deaf or hard of hearing individuals in the conduct of municipal business. And so the MOA utilizes readily accessible telephonic language lines and professional face-to-face interpreters if needed. to conduct municipal business and, rely on less effective communications method. We encourage others, to rely on less effective communications being, friends or family or children used as interpreters. And so, Amy Kaufman, if you would like to take a moment, and again, this training and this program had not been updated since the Berkowitz administration, and that was led by Amy Kaufman, who's on the line, and she, I think, is going to speak to a few of her recommendations.
Before you go, Amy, I'll just note that Mr. Vaughn has just joined us. It is 1:11 p.m. Amy.
Hi, I just want to say truly what a joy it was to get to come back and have this opportunity with the municipality again. Language access really, when I was doing this under the Berkowitz administration, it really opened my eyes to something I had never really thought about. And once that moment happened, then I couldn't change it again. So it's become a real passion of mine. So it was a great honor to get to come back and do this alongside Kim and Lupe. And I also want to just really boast on Lupe for stepping into this moment. And she didn't talk about, she spoke about her experience as a municipal employee, but her own lived experience brings a lot to this conversation and a lot to this work. And she has had to serve as an interpreter in situations she should not have been put in as a child. And so I really just want to commend you, Lupe, for being excited about this and really taking this by the reins. So saying that, it was we learned a lot over this time that we were working on this together. And it wasn't surprising that some of the departments were using the services and others were not. People changed. There'd been a pandemic. So the great news is people kind of knew there was some stuff out there, and we just got it freshened up and easy to access again. And as well, one of the two big things for me are, do staff know how to supply the services, and can people get the services? And I feel really solid that where we're at this point, we can be certain that those two things are going to happen. So recommendations going forward, really coming up with standardized and mandated training for new employees as well as employees on an annual basis, because some things around language access will change. Additionally, for language access representatives, I think there needs to be a stronger, more in-depth training that's done with them than what might be given to every staff member. All of these things can be kept on the Universe webpage, which will make it easier for employees to be able to find information. And as the program itself grows, as departments start doing more in the ways of outreach, they can have tools right in the Universe that help them identify exactly which groups do we need to connect with. What kinds of languages might we be needing at this type of an event? All different kinds of things that they can find on there. So along with that, updating technology, there are different digital tools that can be used to update the multilingual access on the website, as well as we've enhanced with the on-demand interpretation by video, which is both for foreign languages and as well as for ASL. So that is something that I don't think that the Muni had in place, even for ASL. One of the things that we did really run into was having just Language Link, which we set up. I think that contract was set up in 2017 or 2018 with Language Link. The contract that they were on expired in early May of this year. And that whole contract, which covered many states, was no longer valid. We worked with purchasing and Language Link to get a master service agreement set into place so that services would continue as is. But one of the things that I really suggest is that these services, that there is more than one telephonic interpretation service that can be used in case you can't get an interpreter on one of the companies. And also that you go ahead and put out for an RFP. There's a lot of different companies that have amazing different technological capabilities that I think it would be great to have an array of services if possible. Again, with the language access representative, wanting to make certain that they really feel knowledgeable about how they're training and teaching other employees in their departments to use language services and to identify if someone needs language assistance. And so just a more in-depth training process as well as communication amongst the language access representatives so that they can share successes and challenges that they face. Essential public information, we kind of talked about, it's different in each department, what is essential public information, what are vital documents. So it would be, I think, good for those conversations to happen by department so that they really can identify which will be the ones that everyone needs to fill out. Improved data collection and monitoring. We had talked about having on the universe as well. I think it deserves a bigger conversation with IT to really figure out how that can work together and not be more of a pain to where people won't use it. So bilingual staff compensation. This is an issue for any municipal government, any type of state government as well. Any job where you've got people who are being paid for being bilingual, but those bilingual skills are being utilized. I have a feeling most of the cities that I have looked at are not, they either have a full differential or they're not utilizing bilingual staff members because it gets very sticky without a really clear policy around it. So we would want to make certain that someone who is willing to serve in this capacity, that they've had their language abilities assessed. We want to make certain that they've had training on how to serve as an interpreter, especially with smaller communities, with smaller linguistic communities. Someone may be serving as an interpreter that may be around a difficult conversation that now they're interpreting for a neighbor who now knows what their business is. So there's just different ways we need to make certain that people are getting the proper type of service. And then, of course, if bilingual staff would receive compensation, how would that be distributed? How would it be decided? That's a good, I remember having that conversation with legal back in 2017. So, and so it still is something to figure out how the municipality would like to deal with it. Continuous community engagement. From the connections that I have there in Anchorage that I met with while I was up there in June and as well spoke with on the phone, there is definitely a feeling of isolation that's happening out in different communities. And so keep that in mind if there's different events that you can get to try and do that. I think it will really move mountains in a time that feels hard. With that, the departments, if they have public events, we want to make certain that they're doing, that they're reaching out to those different communities and having interactions so that people know what services the city provides and how they can guide them as they go about. Can you still hear me?
You're good.
Okay. So in any case, more community engagement, and also making certain that how the city is doing language access is resonating in a way that people need it. Promoting plain language across everywhere. One of the things that I can tell you is that when you use plain language, it makes translation costs less. So it's a great reason to do plain language as much as possible. And then, of course, one of the biggest ones is having the assembly figure out how to assist departments in funding language access needs. How that can be decided so that you don't have departments that aren't able to provide the services because there is no funding allocated for it. Some cities have looked at doing a language access pool where departments put in a set amount of money, and then that is used across departments for services. So it's also another option. And finally, I put a language access coordinator or manager position. It really feels like Lupe is stepping into that role. I don't know if there's been any title changes or not, but cities across the country, more and more are having a full-time language access person so that they are continually able to work with departments, continually able to work with the communities to really make certain that those bridges are built and everyone has equal access to city services.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you, Amy. And, you know, it was a joy to work with you and again, to stand this program up strong. So thank you. You know, that had not happened since the Berkowitz administration. And I know that there was a lot of joy in having you back for the time that you took to come down for a week with us to help facilitate this training, to meet with directors, and also make sure that we had all of our language access reps established within every department within the municipality. And that was a big point of pride for all of us. So thank you for your willingness to jump right in and, as they say, teach the teacher and to educate us so we can continue to improve upon the program. And as Amy mentioned, you know, we are continuing to learn more about the needs that other departments may have, cost included for this program. That will be something that we will share in our full annual report at the top of the year. Moving along, I know that I did mention that we have 4 areas of primary focus. I just did want to say that you received a handout of our most recent equal employment opportunity policy statement. These are distributed quarterly to directors, and we ask that they put them in a place that their teams can see. But again, it just goes to say that the municipality of Anchorage serves as one of the most diverse communities in the United States, and that we're dedicated to ensuring that we welcome the rich diversity of our region by implementing discrimination-free employment practices. And so I just wanted to make sure that you saw that as we move along. So another primary area of focus, of course, that falls under the purview of our office is the Native Village of Eklutna educational opportunity for municipal employees, which we just held. I believe it was last week. Time is just flying by, but we just held that gathering at the Wilda Marston Theater. Thank you for those of you who took the time to join us. It was well attended in person and online, again, especially for the first time that it has happened. And so, you know, in 2021, the Assembly approved an ordinance to establish government-to-government relations between the Muni and the sovereign Native Village of Eklutna. And so our office, in consultation with the Native Village of Eklutna and other tribal leaders, provided that educational opportunity for municipal employees on the history and shared status of tribes within Alaska and the municipality on issues of concern to tribes. So that was a real pleasure. And again, a good first time out. We hope to continue to improve upon that opportunity, and have even talked about one year having that happen in the Native Village of Eklutna. So we think that would be exciting. Next up, sharing a little bit more about a primary focus of this office. MuniWorks, AK, is a program of the Office of Equity and Inclusion, and you can see that on our platforms of Facebook and Instagram. And so this speaks to our commitment to call residents into the work happening here at the municipality. And so you've been provided with about 5 months of social media summaries. This has proven a fun and interactive way to connect with residents. Our audience is growing. It is extremely interactive, even as recent as our Mutification Lunch and Learn events. We were able to broadcast those live on that channel. And again, we are on Facebook and Instagram. And so that is done through our contractor, which is Anita Stetsonov. And I'll be sharing a little bit more about her role, but we have brought her on with our team to help with our outreach and to make sure that our graphics are engaging. And we've got some really fun, again, and interactive segments that we kind of execute through those social media channels. Let me click this. There we go. Okay, so outside of those 4 primary areas of focus, there is also plenty of other work coming out of our office, and some of that work I will highlight here. You know, we've got, you know, we work with human resources. And so I will say that there is no hiring or firing that, of course, happens through our office, but we do work closely with human resources on recruitment and retention. The OEI was happy to implement exit and transfer interviews. So, you know, this is valuable information that many at the municipality have said that they would like an avenue to share, but until now, there has been no avenue for them to share their feedback on how we make this the best possible place to work and continue to implement their feedback and all that we do here at the municipality. So we were able to stand those up, both exit and transfer interviews, and that's been about 3 months now. So again, it is very new, but that is one of the things that you will be getting an update on in the annual report at the top of the year. So pretty excited about that. The OEI also supports the municipality on a number of special projects. We're pulled in on various RFPs, one being an RFP for training for the Anchorage Police Department and also for leadership training for municipal directors, participated in the Mayor's Arts Grants. We assist with various communications and support a variety of municipal events, including Pride Parade and currently the MOA 50 events that you're seeing happening across the city. We work on a number of community initiatives. We've contributed to the planning and support of several community initiatives, including the Anchorage Chamber of Commerce Military Appreciation Day, the Black Business Expo, the Pacific Island Women's Recognition Awards, and the Alaska Civil Rights Conference. We work on a number of internal teams in the OEI, including the Employee Solution Survey team, the leadership training team, and my personal favorite, the Employee Lifecycle Committee, led by Chief Admin Officer Bill Falsey. Also, we know that representation matters, and so as the Chief Equity Officer, I represent the municipality in a number of ways. Lupe as well. We show up for our community in all the ways that we are asked, in all the ways that our schedules will allow. Also, we work on quite a bit of advocacy, and this is advocacy on behalf of residents. We meet with community councils, religious leaders, and stakeholders alike looking to have their voices uplifted in municipal government. And that's part of what we do, I think, best, you know, that I'm really understanding now as an office that we are called on in that way. And so we've had in-person site visits with organizations including Catholic Social Services, the Mountain View Boys and Girls Club. We've participated in a number of council meetings, visited Access Alaska, Campfire. Most recently, we had a really great visit at Chugiak Eagle River Senior Center to better understand community concerns around equity and resource distribution and all the ways that they are planning to grow that facility. Another example of advocacy would also be reflected in our commitment to uplift those concerns of community residents and assist in the request for deeper community connections and deeper areas of contact with the current administration. One of those ways of advocacy resulted in the development of the visits with the mayor that happen now on a monthly basis. So we're pretty proud of that. And also, even as recent as last night, we had the religious leaders convening that was held upstairs in the mayor's conference room. And so we've really worked to establish significant relationships with residents, community councils, as I said, religious leaders and stakeholders alike. And I also want to take a moment to point out that advocacy also includes internal advocacy for our team. And, this is from every department, working with the people mover to get that people mover running, hopefully, and find a budget so that it is running on all holidays, working in conjunction to better understand the needs of the HOPE team, and advocating for our employees and team members within the municipality to get the resources and staffing that they need to do their best work. And I would have to say that that's one of the favorite parts of the work that I have the honor to do. Coming to a close here, I just wanted to make sure that you got eyeballs on our dynamic team. It is myself, Lupe Chavez, our junior admin officer, Zanita Stetsenoff, who is our social media strategist. She works as a contractor. We hope to bring her on a more part-time basis, again, because so much of what we're doing involves that outreach and those communications within the community that take a lot of time and skill. And also, as you've heard from Amy Kaufman, who is our language access contractor. So I guess as we come to a close, it feels like a good time to say thank you for the collaboration. Those of you who engage this office, I've learned a great deal from you. And, mostly you're sharing about your constituents and your communities. And so collaboration with the members of the body, has included, even the work we're currently doing, learning from Member Brawley on tax education, Member Perez Verdia sharing some about his issues of concerns around public safety, which is an issue of concern that we all share. Tackling issues around property tax liens and questions about barriers and grant making with Member Baldwin Day. We've learned from both Chair Constant and Member Brawley. They've helped to educate our office about the National League of City Partnerships, Welcoming America partnerships, and those longstanding partnerships that fall under our purview to not only understand but also maintain. And I've learned a great deal from past members of the body, including Meg Zolotel, Karen Bronga, and Randy Salt. And I just want to say that, those relationships and those opportunities to learn from each of you, they really do help us to better do our work. And so I wanted to add that, as I mentioned, we've got an upcoming annual report at the top of the year. So you'll be seeing a lot more, and specifically data around some of the programs that have been, stood up very recently. I understand that matters. And so these systems were not put into place when I took the office. Some of the programs were not stood up, but really proud of what we've got going. With a lot of help and collaboration, a lot of feedback from directors and from residents, I feel like we're off to a pretty strong start. And so we look forward to sharing that data, specifically around language access and our needs for additional resources, are more of, a better idea of our capacity, possible budget needs. We want to provide some data on our reach and our impact with social media and on our internal and external advocacy, and all that we'll learn from those exit and transfer interviews that will help make the municipality an even better place to work and help us to improve upon our own practices. And so with that, yeah.
To the clerk, I think that the stream might have broken.
What's that?
Just for having a tech issue. It made a weird beep and I got a text that audio has kicked out. Okay, it might be fixed. Okay, you're aware? I haven't dialed back in. Okay. We can keep going. Sorry to interrupt.
Okay. Oh, no, I was actually done.
Okay.
So
Anna.
I yield back. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for being here. And you mentioned that you started about a year ago. I was reflecting back to our first conversation and really the theme being that you had a lot of ideas and ambitions, but we're still figuring out this role. So I'm really excited to see a year later, kind of thinking back to that early conversation, and really excited to see all the work you guys are doing. And I think it was alluded to before, this position has existed for a few years, but it took a while to get off the ground and really figure out kind of what the role is, what it should be. And so I really appreciate you guys diving in and not just working on the policy side, but working on outreach, and not just working on outreach, but working on policy. So I really appreciate the breadth of that work. One plug I'll put in, you mentioned the budget communications. I would say to other members as well and departments, it's been really great to start to think with you guys about how we bring more people into these arcane topics like our budget, right, that are so important, but it's hard for people to get a handle on. And it's hard for us as the policymakers sometimes to step out of the weeds and think about like, well, okay, what is a regular person going to want to know about that, or what questions do they have? So I would definitely say to other members, I'd pitch, working with Kim and Lupe and the team. My question actually is, I'm curious about the social media engagement. You mentioned the Muni Works, and that's great that it's interactive. I love looking at the pictures. I'm glad, as someone who wishes I had more time to do social media, I'm glad that you are doing that because I know it's important. But I'm curious kind of what sorts of engagements you're getting from folks other than, the likes and all that. Are people asking a lot of questions, or like what's coming back from people in the comments or whatever's going on? I'm just curious.
Before you answer, we're gonna make a little noise.
Please enter your participant or moderator code followed by the pound key. Please. Sorry, conference is already started.
All right, thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Member Brawley. And I too remember the conversations that I had in the infancy of my position, and this was great to kind of think through, what has happened and what has been accomplished in a year, and not only that, just to reflect on the deep collaboration that has made this office, what it is, and helped to solidify our vision for who we want to be. So it has been quite an almost year. But I will say, in terms of MuniWorks, a lot of the feedback that we're getting is around our people of the Muni segments. And this segment was developed specifically, again, working with human resources on recruitment and retention. We wanted to make sure that residents understood who we are and what we do. I think there's a lot of mystique around government jobs and their function of different departments. I know that I had that. I have never worked in the government. So I had a lot of questions myself as to the function of offices when I took this role. But the people of the Muni segment is meant to humanize those and who work with, within the municipality, and share more about their specific roles in the function of their office. And people really seem to like that. Also, what I will say is one of the primary functions of Muni work is to really dig down. We call it 2 layers deep, where we are not just sharing out that information, but we are hoping to frame a lot of what we're sharing for those who have no idea of how any of this works, right? And to really distill this information to where anyone can read and they can understand. And not only that, we make sure that we are always hyperlinking with additional resources, because I find a lot of times that I may read or, see something online and I don't know where to go to get more information. And to speak more specifically, I don't know why it matters to me. And so we really try to make sure to connect with those, and we're hundreds strong now online, and, are growing every day, but to help residents understand why this matters to them. And that's why I'm so excited, particularly to work with you, Member Brawley, on some of that budget education, because, I think that would be very helpful for residents to learn how to activate themselves and to better understand why the municipal budget matters to them.
Other questions? Anyone else? Well, I think that I want to say thank you for sticking through the challenges of the first part. It was pretty tricky to navigate, and grateful for this work product and a briefing on the upcoming annual report and the various efforts. I don't know if you're still there, Amy. Thank you for your work from afar. And with that, if there's nothing further, we'll be adjourned, and everyone have a great weekend.
Thank you.
We're adjourned.